Here we are at section 7, the last section that we're going to do, besides our borders, but our main section of the quilt. We are going to start with the mug 2, and it is on page 37 and 38. We have our background fabric that we've already put our fusible backing on. We have 2 mug pockets that are 5.5 by 4.5. Then we have a mug base, which is 5.5 by 4.5. And then we have our white embroidery topping for our marshmallows. It is the same, or very similar to our topper that we put on our wash away, but this will be left in. I mean, it'll perforate it, we'll tear it off, but it will stay in, whereas this will wash away. Alright, so we're going to lay that aside, and we're going to do this in part A and part B. Part A is the pocket that we're going to have on top of this. So we're going to start by hooping our wash away stabilizer. So I've got a layer of it hooked in there in my 5x7 hook frame. And then we're going to stitch this little pocket that's going to go up on the top of the actual mug. So let me get that all set up on the embroidery machine, and I'll be right back. Alright, I have pulled up my dimensional pocket blocks. It's the file that I have pulled up. And the first one we're going to do is the 5x7 mug 2 right here. The next one, when we do our background quilting, we'll pull up this second one. So for now we're going to add this one. And that's all we're going to add for right now. And we want it to stay in the center of the embroidery. So we do embroidery, and we are ready, set to go. Let me swing you around to here, and I will put my hook on. I'm using my red thread for right now. It says to use a visible thread. So I'm going to do our placement line, and then we're going to do our tack down line. We will tape our base fabric, our dimensional, one piece of our 5.5 by 4.5 piece. We'll stitch it down. Then we're going to do the little snowflake on the top of it, and then we'll trim. So we'll just do this part together. Alright, we're going to stitch our snowflake down, and then I'll come right back after it gets finished. Okay, got our snowflake on here. Now we take it and we turn it over to the back. We place our backing fabric on here. See if I can do this holding it in the air. And we're going to tape it down. Then we're going to turn it back over and stitch our mug tack down line and alignment stitches. Probably should have changed to red, but I didn't. So maybe that's good. Maybe it'll keep us separated over. stitches to use for a lining. Now, it tells us to take it out and trim close to the stitches, close to the stitch line right here on the front and on the back, but not anywhere else, just on this top curved piece. After we do that, we're going to change our bobbin thread to red, and our thread to red, and then we're going to stitch our satin stitch along here, and our pocket will be finished. So let me get that done and I'll be right back. Here is my trimmed out space on my curve, front and back. I've left it taped down back here until we take it out, until we get through stitching this. So I'm going to stitch the satin stitch across the top and take it out of the hook. Okay, I've switched to my red thread, still my white bobbin. I'm going to do the stitch placement line for our mug. I've gotten all my background embroidery done. So let's stitch that down real quick. Okay, I have my background mug fabric. Stitch it on. Then I'm going to trim it, and we're going to do a little bit of embroidery with our red thread, and then we'll move to our brown. Oh, come on and finish. My bobbin thread's almost out. I'm just going to keep going, and hopefully it'll finish that one last little piece. Ah, yay. Okay, I'm going to trim all the way around the mug. We're going to do I'm on page 38 and number 3. It's going to stitch the back mug rim, the handle over here, and the base. And we'll do that all in red, and then I'll come back when all that's done. Okay, now we're going to stitch our cocoa field that will go right in here. And it's going to do our advent number at the bottom too. Then I'll come back when I get that done. Alright, we've got our chocolate hot cocoa done. Oh, we got to do our letter. Oh, sorry, forgot about that. Let me get that done real quick. Okay, now we have done all of our little letter and this. We are going to put our topper on. And one reason they use this topper is this one is a permanent one that stays in there so that it covers when you stitch over it with white. If you just stitched it without this, some of the stripe might show through. So we're going to use this so that it makes it cover really, really well. And I think I'm just going to use a little bit right here. It says to tape it down. And what I also am going to do it says to go in and change your jump stitch length to between 7 and 10 millimeters. So let's go over to the screen. Let's see if I can just take this off and do it better this way. Okay, we're going to go to our little file folder up here. And we are looking for the jump stitch part. Well, I thought I was hitting a button. This might not be where we find it. It depends on what machine you have. Okay, I think that's not where we're going to find it. I think it may be in our edit. Here we are. I found it on mine, and mine is a Destiny 2. It's down where the tension is. Down at the bottom we have our little plus and minus that helps us go back and forth. And it's where you change the embroidery tension. So we want it to between 5 and 10 millimeters. So let's go to 10 on mine. It said 7 and 10. So I'm just going to make it go to 10. Okay. Now let me get my camera back on here. And go over here. I'm going to change out my red to my white, because our marshmallows need to be white. And then I'm going to stitch our 3 little marshmallows with a topper on top. Sorry. Okay. I've attached the embroidery frame. Thinking, why is that way over there? I had pulled it out so you could see it. I'm going to come back when it gets finished. Okay, we've finished stitching there. Let me take my tape off. And it says to tear the excess away. You put a lot of holes in this already, so it's just should just easily pull right up and tear away. And that's my jump stitch that they wanted long. And there's what we look like. Now we'll have to come back later and cut out that jump stitch and maybe pull a little bit more out of there. So now we're going to work on our putting our little pocket on. And it says to stitch the mug pocket placement line and align the stitches. So let's switch to the red thread, because we don't want I don't want any other color peeking through. Alright, let's do our placement line. Right, our mug is going to fit on just like this. And we're supposed to verify the alignment of the lower alignment stitches and tape in place. So we're going to take our little pin that we had before and make sure, now this is our alignment line. And I'm sticking the pin in at the top, through that one, and through that one. And I'm not sticking it way down in there. Get my other pin. And do the same thing down here. Put it into the stitching line on top. And there. And I'm going to go ahead and tape this part down. And I think I'm going to get a new piece of tape. I've used that one. See, it moves so many times. I think I'm just going to get some new tape. You can reuse it over and over, but it's kind of crucial to be sure that we have it in the right place. So let's verify that again. That one is there. That one is there. And when we get this taped in place, then we will stitch our tack down line. Let's take our pin. I think we're going to have to here on top. And you might not be able to see exactly. I think we're good over here. I'm going to continue doing that around till I get this taped down, all these three sides. So let me come back when I get that done. I verified with all sides that it's in its right place. So now I'm going to stitch the mug pocket tack down line. Alright, now we need to trim this extra fabric away. It says to do not trim what satin stitches are underneath this fabric. To be careful and not catch any of that. Like down here. We just want to cut just this top portion. And be very careful when you get to these satin stitches, like on over here. For your handle, that you don't cut those stitches. So let me trim that up, and then we are going to do our final outline, and we will be done with this block. So I'll be back when I finish. Here is our block, all finished. Isn't it cute? With a little pocket in it. So we will trim this to 6.5 by 6.5, and we will be ready to move on to our next block. And I think the next one we do is the house, the blue house, which will be our last house that we do. So I will see you when I get that all set up. Okay, we're ready to do our blue house, which will be our last house block. We're also going to do it in two parts, part A and part B. Part A is going to be the door. And then part B will be finishing up the rest of the house. So the pieces that you need are the background fabric for the background of the house, which is this pink that we've already put our fusible backing on. Then we have the door fabric, the house fabric. It's 4 by 5. We have the roof fabric, which is 4.5 by 4. The windows is little dots. That is 3 by 4. We have two pieces for the door that are 3 by 4, which we'll use one on the top and one on the bottom, which we're going to use those first. Then we have the the door pocket, which will be this long 3 by 8 piece, and we will do that when we after we get through with making our door. And this is the door base, which is a 3 by 4 that will go on the front of the house behind the door. This is our piece of shape form interfacing. And we need to be very sure that we have it at 1 1/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches. Your embroidery needle will not sew through this, so we've got to be sure it's exactly the same, just so our needle won't hit it when we're sewing along the side of it. We also need our the glitter, the snow that goes on the top, and some straight pins and a cotton swab. So the first thing I've done is in my 4 by 4 hoop, I've hooped my wash away stabilizer, and I have pulled up on my embroidery screen there's two files for the blue house. There's a part A and a part B. Part A is just the door. So when you pull up your house block files off your stick, then you'll look for the little door. And it says verify that the door structure shape form interfacing is exactly 1 1/4 by 2 3/4. So the first thing we're going to do is stitch our placement line for our door, and then we're going to put our shape form interfacing there. So let me turn the camera around and we will get started. Alright, I have stitched my placement line, and we are going to place our shape form inside this inner box without it creeping over into the other side. So let's make very sure that we are right there on that box. And we're going to tape this one down, because we do not want that moving. I think I'm even going to tape the bottom end of it, just to be sure that it stays put. Okay, now we stitch the door structure tack down line. Guess I was wrong. It does stitch through that. So let's take the tape off. I know it hit it in the last door we did, and kind of threw things off for me anyway. Tape off my fingers. Now we take our one piece of our door and we place it here. I'm going to make sure we kind of got it even. And we stitch our tack down line. I got a bit of a wrinkle there, but I think it will be alright. Which is where you probably should tape it instead of holding it. It says do not trim, and then stitch the door outline. And it says to stitch the door doorknob fill, and it says to use green, but I think I'm going to use blue. You do as you would like to do. I think And we are going to change our color here to white because it's the decorative part of the front door. Now we turn our, I'm going to make it up just a little bit, because we're going to turn our fabric hook to the back and put our back piece on here. And tape the corners. Then we're going to stitch our door tack down line and hinge lines. And I think we're going to do that in the blue. Okay, now we're going to do what we did before on the other one. And we are not going to trim between our hinges. We're just going to trim close to the edge all the way around to here. So we do that for the front and for the back. Just be sure you do not trim for our hinge, because that's what we're going to sew on when we sew it back down like we did the other one. I'll come right back when I get finished with this. Okay, this is what it looks like when you get through. When I've trimmed as close as I can around there, and I had to get my very small scissors to use it to get close up to it. So we have these two pieces, and that's what we're gonna be our hinge for our door. Now we're going to stitch our satin outline, and I think that's the last step in doing our little door. So I'll get that done and come back. And I forgot to tell you, you need to change now to your blue bobbin that matches your top of your thread, because this part of the door will be seen on both sides. So change your bobbin, do your satin stitch, and then we'll be done with the door. Alright, we're done with our door. I've taken it out of the hook. I have trimmed back between the flaps on the door hinge. And like I said before, this just tears away because there's so many holes that are in it. I may have to cut right there. Just do not want to cut my satin stitches. And anywhere there's a little bit of stabilizer left, you can just wet your finger and run it around the edges, and that will take care of anything that's left there. So there's our door. Now we're going to start on our, we're going to lay that aside until we're ready for it again. We're going to start on our block by block for the house. So I'm going to delete that part. Let me show you over here. I'm going to go to the horizontal line design. When I was putting my backing on, I left a thread in there, and you can see it from the top. I can choose to do one or two things. I can pull this up enough that I can pull that out, or I can leave it because my house block is going to go right over the top of it. So I'm going to leave it because I don't want to just iron down very nicely. Just don't want to mess with that part of it. Now, if it was going to show it was in another part of it, I would pull it apart and take that piece out. So we're looking for our lines. And we were looking for the 4x8. Four by 8 lines, and you decide whether you want them slanted this way or this way. And I think I'm going to do them this way. I'm going to set that. Then I'm going to go back and add my house block on top of that, which is my blue right here. And then I'm going to say embroidered because we want both of them centered. So I'm going to go ahead and stitch out. I hooked my frame in my stabilizer. I'm going to do my background quilting just like we've done for all the other blocks. And I'll come back when I get through with that. Remember to change out your bobbin, because the last thing on our door, we left our blue bobbin in, or had our blue bobbin in. So we want to take this one out and put our white one back in, or our regular embroidery bobbin. Come on. So don't forget to change out your bobbins. Be right back. Okay, it is telling us to, on the house fabric, the roof fabric, and the windows fabric, to go ahead and put your fusible interfacing on the back of it. And prepare your window pocket, your door pocket, excuse me, by folding this piece in half. And then they want you to go ahead and take the film off of your piece of snow that goes on the roof. And that prepares all your pieces of fabric. All your pieces for the next thing. So I have gone ahead and stitched, I've got my background quilted. I have stitched my house placement line. You can see right here the little string that's under there. So this is going to cover it up nicely. I'm going to put this down, and we're going to tack this down and trim out the house block. Then we will put our we'll do our roof tack down, put our roof fabric on, and trim it out. So I'm going to do those things and come back. Okay, I also went ahead and did the tack down lines for my window placements and trimmed those out. So now we're going to do our outline stitches for the house, the little window treatments, and around the roof. And you're going to switch back and forth between your light teal and your dark teal. So just follow the directions. We're on page 48 on 7. It'll be 7 through 13. So let's get that done, and I'll come back when I get that finished. Wow, that was a lot of changes of colors. But oh my goodness, how cute it is. Now we're going to do our tack down placement line for our snow that goes up in the corner of the roof, the top of the roof. I'm going to do it, and then we will, once you place your glitter on, done your tack down line, you place your glitter on. Then you want to cover it with a cloth and press that on there. And then you'll do the decorative outline that goes on it. And then we'll stitch our number that goes down here at the bottom with our white thread while we have our white thread on it. Then we'll do all of that, and we'll come back and do put our pocket on, and we'll be through with this block. So I'll be back in just a minute. Oh, look at our cute little house. Now we got to get our door back on with the door pocket. So the first thing we're going to do, and we are at number 18 on 49, page 49. And we're going to stitch the door placement line. Then we're going to place the door base fabric right side up and stitch that down. I've changed to my dark blue thread so it'll match my door. So let's get that part done. And I will zoom in a little for you. We're going to put this on and stitch this down. know if you could see it go in. There's two little tick marks right on the inside. So we're going to take our pocket piece that we folded in half, the really long piece. We're going to put our tape at the top of the door, of the fold, excuse me. And we're going to put it where this fold line is exactly where these little tick marks are. I'm going to see if I can get that with the camera going. Okay. Now we stitch that pocket tack down line, and then we're going to trim the door base and pocket fabrics close to the stitching line. So here we go. And the tape will easily tear off. Once we trim this, get all the tape off, then we're going to come back and do our decorative outline around the door. So let me get that done and I'll be right back. Okay, we have stitched our decorative stitch around. Now we want to align this stitch with this stitch. And we want to do that as carefully as we can. We're going to tape down this side, the right side of your door. Tape it down pretty good. Now we want to take our pins again, and we're going to go in right here. And we're going to go down and be sure that we are in. And I know that you probably can't see that, but I can. And I want to do the same here. Just kind of lift that up a little and make sure that those two seam lines are exactly in the same spot. Now I have a little wool mat that I'm pinning into. So we're going to turn it over on the back, and we're going to be sure, let me see if I've got this where you can see it, that the pins are in the seam line, and they are, because I have to feel it to see it. So those pins are in the right place. Let's see. It says just to verify it, and I have that it's all there. Now we want to tape the hinge fabric down also, because we don't want it moving. Now, they tell you we're going to take our pins out now, because we can't put it in our machine with the pins in it. Now I'm going to move it back to the machine, and then we're going to take our needle and unthread it and put it down right there to be sure that we, doubly sure that we're exactly where we need to be. So, let me turn the camera around and we will do that. Alright, I have unthreaded my machine, and I'm going to lower this needle right there, and it goes exactly on that line. I can try to get you closer. But I can't tell exactly what you're seeing. So we are going to advance machine and try it again in a different spot. Be sure that we are exactly aligned there, and we are. And then we're going to advance to the end. Mine won't advance if I don't have a needle all the way up. Oh, come on. Okay. Anyway, we are aligned. So, what it tells you to do is to go back to the beginning of your of that stitch. And don't touch 0 because that puts you all the way at the very beginning of the project. So just use your back arrow. There we go. That's at our very beginning. So what we do now is rethread our machine and go ahead and stitch that line. And we're positive this there. We're on page 50. It says, now that your door is aligned, it's time to rethread your needle and stitch the door hinge line. Once you stitch it, if you see that it's not exactly on top of that, now's the time to take that part out and redo it. Okay, mine's not what I wanted it to do. I'm not in the right place. So what I'm going to do is cut the thread and go back and trim close to the where I stitched it here. I'm probably going to take these out that did that second line because I'm on the zigzag thing and I didn't realize that I was there and you didn't see where I was pointing. Okay, battery died on me and I had to redo. I was on the satin stitch and didn't realize that I was. So I've got to take this row of stitching out and trim as close as I can to this row so that I can come back and do my satin stitching. So I'm going to do that and I'll be right back. Okay, I have fixed my little boo-boo. So now I'm back to, we're going to do our satin stitch, and that I think is the final thing that we do, except for trimming it, and we'll talk about trimming it when we get through with the satin stitch. So I'm going to do my satin stitch and I'll be right back. So here is our finished little block. It is so cute. So we have our little pocket right there that we can stick our little advent note in. Now all we have to do is trim it up to 4.5 by 8.5. And then we'll move on to our next block. See you in a few minutes. Alright, we're going to move on to the car section. Now I'm going to do the station wagon. There is files on your CD to show you the an alternate car. And it's a little Volkswagen Bug that you can do in a smaller. I'm not sure what page that's on. But if you don't have the bigger hook, then you can do the little Volkswagen Bug. And instructions for that are on your CD. There is also instructions for a way to split this car into 2 different hoopings on the CD. It's for a 5x7 hoop, and these instructions are for a 6x10 hoop. If you're doing the background quilting, you're going to have to go a little bit bigger than a 6x10. So I am using an 8x12 because I happen to have it. Alright, we have our background fabric, which is the gray dots that we've already put our stabilizer on, our fusible backing. We have our car, which is the red. We have our trim, which is this wood grain looking, and we have our 2 tire fabrics. And I think this is a pretty straightforward applique block. So I have loaded my background quilting, and then I have loaded my car on top of that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do my background quilting like we've done for all of them, and then I'll come back and we'll do our embroidery on our car. See you in a bit. Okay, I have my background quilting done, and we're ready to start with the car. We're going to stitch our car placement line. And I'm going to do this real quick because it's not going to take long. I'm going to put my fabric down for my car, tack it down, and then I'm going to trim my fabric. And we're going to do the same thing for our the panel that goes on the side and for the tires. So we're going to do them in that order, and then I'll come back. Thought I'd show you the progress on the car. It's just a lot of stitching. A lot of satin stitching, as a matter of fact. So I have left to do the bumpers and the little detail on the wheels and the car number, the advent number on it. And then we will be through with this one. So I'll be back when I finish that. Okay, we are finished embroidering. Here's our car. It's cute. I got a few little strings to trim up on it. It's adorable, and our little advent tree will go on the top. So we trim this up to 4.5 by 10.5, and we have our car block done. So I think we will. I think this is the end of our first video of 7. I guess it's all done. And next we will work on our second video of 7, and that will be finishing us up until we get to our borders. See you next time. Okay, we're on the home stretch. We're on section 2. Not section 2. Video 2 of section 7. We're going to do the All Hearts Come Home for Christmas. Embroidery is just a stitched block. It's very simple embroidery. We're going to put up our background quilting, which is the trees with the vertical design. And then we bring in our embroidery file, layer it on top. Everything needs to be centered. And we're just going to stitch it out. And we will be through with this block. So I'll come back when I get all of that done. All finished. So we trim this up to be 8.5 by 10.5. 8.5? No. 4.5 by 6.5. Excuse me. That didn't sound right. 4.5 by 6.5, and I'll have to go in and cut all my jump stitches there. So we will move on to, I believe the next thing we do are the filler blocks. I think that's what we'll do next. Okay, for our section 7 filler blocks, we have these 4 fabrics. And they all can be done in the 5x7 hoop. So just follow the directions here as to what embroidery design goes on it and what size, and get them stitched up like we've done all our other filler blocks. And I'll come back when I get them finished. So here is all our blocks for our section 7 ready to sew together. Wow, we're done with this part. We have a few more pieces of the advent piece. You know, the advent pieces that stick on it to go on. And then we have to quilt our borders and put our borders on. But we are so close to being finished. And it's not even December 21st yet. December 1st yet. Excuse me. Alright, I'm going to get this sewn together. I will put it, I'll sew it all together. I'll put it on our end of our panels, and you'll see the completed quilt top when I come back. And there is our completed cup of cheer top. We still have to do our borders and finish up a few of our advent things that go on the quilt. And then unfortunately we have a few hand sewing things that have to go on, the buttons and a few things like that. But we are so close to being done. So it looks fantastic. See you in a bit, and we will start to work on the advent things.